39th Annual International Anna Convention. We all know what the world is experiencing at this moment, the global pandemic of COVID-19. But still, we have these current executives have, done everything to ensure that we have this convention this year. It has not been easy, but then we have weathered the storm and we are here today. We hope that at the end of this convention, it's going to be a memorable one, and we have first to give thanks to Almighty God for sparing us to witness this convention and making it a successful one for each and every one of us. So we welcome each and every one of us to Para State, to welcome you to ILORIN. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great time. Thank you very much.
We are talking about Association of Nigerian Authors in this time. You agree with me, sir, Prof, that to a large extent, the reading culture of our people is practically nostalgic. And without a convention like this, and the people that we have gathered here, this particular association, there will be little or nothing that we can do. Now, our fathers will always say a reader. Readers are leaders. So if we are able to catch up with what is happening around us, to know about what has happened in the past, then how then do we become the leaders? We youth of today are the future of tomorrow. In fact, some of us will say we want today. They will claim that our fathers are already using our own time. But there are some things that we are already lacking, that I believe an association like this can again revive in us, so that when we intend Nigeria, or when we want Nigeria to be, we'll definitely get there. So that is the reason when they came to me today to tell me about this particular convention, I said I just must be here, because this particular association is very important for the socio-economic development of the state and Nigeria as a whole. Once again, I want to say a big congratulations for the success, because I believe it's going to be a success at the end of the day, of the 39th International Convention. And I also want to say at this point that please, Anna, the Ministry of Communication, whenever you need our support, we are there for you. And as a state, Para State is also ready, willing to support the association. Once again, thank you very much, and wish you all the best.
Presented by Mr. President Association of Nigerian Authors, on the occasion of the 39th International Convention of the Association holding in ILORIN, Kwara State, December 3 to 6, 2020. We thank God for bringing us to the 2020 International Convention of our Association in the great city of ILORIN, the city of harmony. This convention has been made possible by the Kwara State branch, heavily led by Abdul Rahman, which has empowered its local organizing committee to work tirelessly to secure the profitable partnership of the University of ILORIN, the Mustafa Akambi Foundation, and of course the state government. We are grateful to our elders, resource persons, and members who are participating in this convention. Let us note that because of the difficulties of travel and adherence to COVID-19 protocol, there is a virtual component to allow members across the world to participate from their homes. This ensures that no one is excluded from this year's convention. We thank both scholars for this service. In the face of this year's challenges, the Association of Nigerian Authors, ANAM, has remained resolute about its convictions. That is, to execute its projects and implement its programs. Whereas many other organizations have frozen their annual activities this year, ANA has doggedly held all its annual programs. The association's tenacity has led us to the 39th annual convention for which we are gathered here. The association has fulfilled its duty to its members and the nation, even as it is creatively taking precaution in all these activities. This is resilience at work. As caregivers and pathfinders in the continent, Nigerian writers have always confronted challenges, and they have always lived up to their calling to redeem the image of our country/continent. This convention is built on commitment and hard work. My administration understands the generations of sacrifice that have kept our association elevated among its peers. Our association is truly illustrious, and I am convinced that it will always be illustrious, given the constant presence of resourceful elders who are always available to show their light. Their presence here today had no doubt added grace to this occasion. Looking at the galaxy of stars on this high table, and the galaxy of stars that dot the audience, you will agree with me that Anna is blessed. Given how this association locally offers value to society, I have said repeatedly that creative literature is a very important tool for national development. Creativity and its intellectual capital are vital to development. This assertion derives from the fact that development of any sort begins from the mind. Even experiments that are performed in the physical laboratories are derivatives of the ones performed in the laboratories of the mind. This is why it is important to note that literature grooms the mind for novel thinking. And every breakthrough is a product of novelty. It is important to note that literature grooms the mind for novel thinking, and every breakthrough is the product of novelty. Thus, literature occupies a cardinal position in the advancement of the human cause. For that reason, the theme of this year's convention is In Search of a Better World, Literature as Catalyst for National Development. A better world is the product of development, and it is the role of literature in development that advises the conviction that the subject can catalyze the realization of the better world that we all desire. This regime of ANA is deeply worried about the continuous decay in our world, and has therefore chosen the subject of a better world as its thematic focus. The regime has vigorously engaged this topic and is still engaging it. Today provides another germane opportunity for a thoroughbred scholar to give bread to the eaters in respect of this all-important topic. Drawing from the famous projections of Gordon Brown, the famous Oxford professor of English, it is our hope that literature will help to heal our sick society and bring us to the point of a better world. I therefore call on all my noble colleagues in the creative enterprise of literature to find opportunity during this important conference to deeply reflect on the possibilities of a better world through better art. I also call on all true progressives to invest in literature as a vehicle for quicker realization of development goals. Let us all understand that it will take consistent positive actions to make the world increasingly better. It is a lifelong duty. As indicated by the services of many of our colleagues who have transited to the great beyond, each of us must carry his stroke her baton with dignity and pass it on to the younger generation. This is a lesson we have learned from the sad and sobering moments when some of our finest writers passed away. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, permit me to most respectfully ask you to rise in respect of the iconic Professor J.P. Clark and other Nigerian writers who have joined their ancestors this year. May the soul of the faithfully departed find rest. We must always work to make the world better. This is a wonderful audience. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the convention.
To begin to understand what piracy really means. So we must say it in the language of the authors. And I'm hoping that we can do that next year as one of our gifts to Anna at 40, and also as a landmark legacy that Anna will give to this country at 40. With that, I can assure you that the Young Upright Commission will always associate with Anna because you were there at the beginning. You were one of those that midwifed the commission itself, and we will not forget the source of copyright. But like I always say, the very first words that copyright had to deal with were words, literary words from authors like you. So it's always a pleasure thing to share space like this with you, and I wish everyone a wonderful session as always. Thank you very much.
Can we give people a round of applause?
This association has given me instruments to improve my craft, my writing craft. I'm also an award winner of the association with my play, The Hard Craft. I also became the national vice president. These are no mean possessions. Therefore, Anna is part of my skin, and I'm also in the heart of Anna. I have not much to say. What the proprietor has offered is laudable, and I think to take advantage of that, we have to negotiate the commission. Without prejudice to where this commission may go, it will be important to locate that convention of 40th anniversary in Lagos. The General Manager CEO of the National Theatre will provide space. So that is what I have offered for now. Thank you very much.
The writers residency at Oyo State. Secondly, I would also like to appreciate the former president of ANA, Alhaji Abdullahi, for his organizational skills and most especially his humility, which he is technically handing over to the current president, Mr. Camilo. I also appreciate his efforts in putting together, in managing wholeheartedly the project at the Mamanvata Writers Village at Mpape, Abuja, which hopefully by him should be completed by this time next year. I would like to thank the ANA chairmen with whom I have shared some of my writings since 2018. They include the chairman of Ebonyi State, Mr. Inya Richard, popularly known as This Is Not a Poem on Facebook. The chairman of Abia State, the chairman of Rivers, the chairman of Imo, the chairman of Bayelsa. My special gratitude goes to the chairman of Oyo, Mr. Afunso Omotosho, who gave me permission to make a presentation at the University of Ibadan in November 2018. Well, I'm very grateful for this, for the way you're organized. ANA is more organized, maybe by my own measurement, than any other writers association in Africa at large. Our own writers association in Cameroon are two, since we are a bilingual country with English and French as our official languages. Since 2016, when our crisis began in our own part of the country, our own association of Anglophone writers of Cameroon has not been functional. That's why since then till now I've been making a literary sojourn on the Nigerian Writers Association, and thankfully it has been marvelous, indeed marvelous. Thank you very much.
When the president saw me, he was sure I would be here. Thanks to my friend, Professor President, who encouraged and actually gave me a big way from the heart. I should be home, and I'm happy that I come here today for two reasons. One, and if that was the only reason why we have to stand up, that person who said, there are historical moments in society that we should not forget. In 1995, after the death or killing of Sarah, who was the president, it was difficult to find a branch that would host her, since they wanted to host it. We were only 2 years old, and took the charge and hosted another mission. I think we should clap for it. Now, after some moments of needless turbulence, Anna took the courage to host me. As if we exist for something turbulence. At the moment like this, we need to rise to the occasion. So I'm very happy that this convention is holding here. Secondly, it is not all the time that people survive crisis. John told me what happened in Ghana. But I believe this convention put a final death nail on the crisis of the said Anna in the past 12 months or so. That's part of the wonder of literature. In many countries, as you know, literature is regarded as a nation power. And I'm so impressed by the speech of the Commissioner of Communication, who spoke excellent more and drew the lines of literature as an instrument of national development. I think we should give her on this note, welcome to the Lord.
Straight to the point, short and precise. Can we give him a round of applause? You know what that means, actually. Thank you.
From childhood, we learned no condition is permanent. Then, hope emerged in our mindsets like a bar of iron to the magnet, stuck to our hearts, innocently modest, having seen grandparents bent over backwards in apartments built with no cement, vanished in part with the waste of the beast from whose breast they got cheese and brewed yogurt, yet wait for a day they would meet old mates at the market square to taste meals sumptuous than wheat and meat. Our progenitors, orators and mentors believed that the end would be better, that from dirty gutters they would move to decent gutters where they could cut cakes, richly blended with butter. But like subdued bees in search for nectar, dancing around daffodils devoid of petals, only appearing in the season of winter, bamboozled by political actors, granny stopped the table would turn for them to become spenders. Alas, the more they longed for promised wonders, the more indebted they became to the leaders who lorded it over them as lenders. Yet, words of revolt were too heavy to utter. Forget the air, often attempt. Here's the dreams with many attempts, that the cap of a covetous tyrant will find its way to the head of a cautious cadet, displaying finesse that he might earn enough like his. Thank you.
He's a professor of graduate education and applied linguistics in the Faculty of Education, University of ILORIN, Kwara State. Appointed professor on October 1, 1998, he holds a PhD from the University of Ibadan. The distinguished academic and poet is a very delightful poet. I've read about three or four of his collections. So he's a renowned writer, journal articles, book chapters, monographs, creative poets, including two poetry collections. He has held various positions of responsibilities in the university, including the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Academic of the University of Ilorin. The productive scholar, who has successfully supervised 27 PhDs, also has recorded a golden distinction, award and recognition. Award winner in 1987, BBC Arts and African Poetry Competition. 1998, Elba Knight Award for Distinguished Literacy Research by the International Reading Association, IRA, now known as the International Literacy Association. Distinguished Graduate Award, Faculty of Education, University of Ibadan. Conducting editor to the American Biographical Institute. Africa Outstanding Professor Award by the African Grants Review. His ongoing research includes what the God close to his creator and experiment in bilingual poetry. This is just a very and a brief citation of Professor Bayo. Those who know it very well know him as a very coherent director. You will listen to his keynote speech, and when you listen to him, you are going to know more about him. I present to you our distinguished keynote speaker for the 39th International Convention of the Education Medical, Professor Bayo. You are welcome, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, the title of my address is Language, Literature, and and transformative education. A triumphant nexus in the quest for a better world. Let me begin by expressing my profound appreciation to the organizers of this World Convention for countries being worthy of this key development. The theme of this conference, this convention, is at once topical, apposite, and enduring in a paradoxical sense, due to the cyclic rather than linear progress of history. However, language, in its primary linguistic and other extended senses, is a tool of literature, a cultural movement, both of which can best impact society effectively in the context of balanced and transformative education. This understanding has informed my triadic nexus symbolism in explaining how literature intersects with language and education in humanity's complicated and continuous search for a better world. The potential of education as an instrument for social transformation and sustainable economic development will now seem to be a universally acknowledged truth. The United Nations has made credence and support to this time-honored position by charging nations of the world, irrespective of their divergent educational and socio-economic development, to commit a substantial portion of their annual budgets to the education sector. This will just explain why, when journalists inquire from him his three top priorities on assumption of office, the former British Prime Minister declared, responded confidently that his first priority was education, the second education, and the third also education. Although successive governments in Nigeria have failed to live up to the vision of the United Nations, the national policy on education is unequivocal in its affirmation of the role of education as an instrument par excellence for bringing about rapid national development. The federal government of Nigeria has also zoomed in on education as the panacea for the current intertwined crisis facing almost all the social systems in Nigeria. As he noted that without education, Nigeria will not achieve global relevance. Neither will she create a good society or an informed citizenry. In spite of huge verbal and financial commitment to education by most nations of the world, there have been unintended crises in education, beginning from the second half of the last century. This was the period when the factory age gradually gave way to the current information age, as prepared and sustained by the current ideology of globalization. This crisis has been well captured and documented in very, very seminal books. The first one is compulsory diseducation by Goodman. The second one is all educational crisis, a system approach. Another one is school is dead. Another one we are familiar with the pedagogy of the breast or of the breast, and then the schooling society. The fourth thesis that are not schooling tools is the growing irrelevance of the school system in ensuring the greatest schools for the greatest majority. The result would not have been anything for global economic Nigeria, which is a euphemism for describing how the creed of a few nations of the powerful center through the recklessness of their multinational conglomerates has cowed the economic air of the powerless nations in the periphery. But the backlash in the social and political spheres, both internationally and internationally, has been more debilitating, as evidenced by the following catalogue of widespread maladies currently plaguing our world. Churning out of job seekers rather than job creators due to the growing irrelevance and functionality of education in the developing world. Social interactions, particularly in the third world, where enslaved people are not employed in positions yearning for employment. Gradual or steady enthronement of mystery and poverty poverty, even in the so-called developed world, as many nations in the first, second, and third worlds compete maniacally in the advancement of increasingly accomplished weapons of mass destruction. Widespread violence, terrorism, and counter-terrorism within and among nations, leading to genocides and unprecedented refugee problems, including Nigeria. Urbanization without industrialization in the developing world, resulting in high rates of unemployment and all manner of crime, ranging from child labor to prostitution to armed banditry, kidnapping, and more recently we now have kidnapping. The government does not have the equivalent of somebody napping a adult. So in Nigeria, we have adult nappings, as well as international terrorism. Human life is not trivialized and reduced to statistics, such that the percentage of literate people, for instance, may be decreasing, especially in many third world countries. The actual number of human beings living by literacy continues to be on a steady rise. This is due to uncontrolled population erosion and counter-productive social policies. Desecration and breakdown of the sacred institution of marriage and family life, especially in the so-called developed world. The level of promiscuity in the Western world has reached an alarming proportion. At the close of the last decade and century, most European women will seem to have settled for the practice of having children at the wedlock, believing that children need men to survive. The result is that at least today, half of the babies in Sweden are born at the wedlock. One is about 1 in 3 in France and England. Unfettered neoliberalism, which is the ideological foundation of globalization, has facilitated the naturalization of those things for which God destroys Sodom and Gomorrah. The U.S. is the vanguard of nations which have legitimized homosexuality by according gays and lesbians legal rights, leading to a gradual but steady institutionalization of same-sex marriage. The perverse social orientation is now tacit support of accommodation rather than correction or re-education of sexual deviance. Sexual civilization of womanhood and the enthronement of the unholy trinity of money through trade liberalism, war, popularized violence on the television and internet, and fashion are guided by the sex motive. Unprecedented interest all over the world as a result of absentee or vacuum and alternative parenthood, irresistible peer pressure, and unregulated avalanche of decadent values through the electronic media. The reading culture is gradually dying, while it are generally driven by sex, not only as a habit, but also in their mode of dressing and in their musical orientation. The seed for the crisis just described was sown during the factory age, and has fully germinated in the current production age. During the factory age, to which a great portion of the 20th century belonged, the proliferating demands for specialists in the sciences and technology eroded greatly the broad humanistic base for a balanced and positively transformative education. A type of education that can ensure total and genuine human development at individual and national levels. It will seem therefore that the potential of education as an instrument of positive change and genuine human development has not been exploited by most nations of the world. This has stemmed largely from pervasive misconception and at times deliberate discussion of the meaning, nature, process, and product of education. The goal of all meaningful education is human development in a balanced and transformative sense at both personal and national levels. We may now proceed to examine the more popular misconceptions and discussions with regard to the nature and goal of education. Before examining the meaning and content of personal education, and advocating language and literature within a humanistic and positively transformative paradigm in the quest for a better world. What education is not. Education is not the ability to speak and write impeccable English. Although English describes the information temptation landscape of the world today like a monstrous and deadly octopus, launching a demonic assault on weaker languages. An important linguistic element of globalization is Englishization, a process of rapid propagation and translation of English across the global village, especially in today's communication and information technology. English is an international language which ranks first among the languages of more pages on the web. The pervasive influence of English has led to the misconception, especially in the nations of the third world, that the person's proficiency level in English is indicative of, or even synonymous with, the individual level of education. Education is not schooling. Although the school system in the modern age represents part of the continuous human science for ways of making life richer and nobler for the individual and society. However, what goes on in the school system may run counter to education in the truest sense of the word, and may indeed be in the service of miseducation. The renowned British writer, philosopher, and Nobel laureate, George Bernard Shaw, has once remarked how much their schooling has disrupted his education. The well-documented evidence of alternative imbalance and behavioral biology among many people of the school system administration of the world, including especially Nigeria, will seem to lend support to Shaw's persuasion. Education is not inculcation or emphatic, as no individual, not even is a passive, unthinking, and unfeeling receptacle of knowledge, values, and skills to be absorbed willingly. Unfortunately, the National Council of Education, even in the latest edition, still uses inculcate profusely the education of educational aims and objectives. Education is not a mere process of cultural transmission from generation to generation, as no culture is sacrosanct, static, or self-sufficient. Every culture requires constant self-assessment and self-renewal on the basis of its internal development as well as external influences from other cultures, while retaining the core constants of its positive ethos. Education is not merely acquiring knowledge and skills without a solid foundation of human and humane values, especially digital country, for deploying the knowledge and skills to virtuous and noble ends. When the Swedish scientists Alfred Nobel invented the dynamite, his intentions were pure and progressive. But rather than positively detach the dynamite, his fellow scientists reinvented it as a weapon of mass destruction. Science and technology, therefore, without recycling those of humanities, will be a rudderless ship destined for the rocks. And this, unfortunately, will seem to be the paradox and pathetic state of the world today. Education is not a process of commodification of its human input as packaged products to a money-driven and ill-impedable market. No time to the anti-humanist impetus of economic development as a key component of globalization. Conversely, the primary goal of education is to liberate, edify, and elevate the mind, body, and soul of its recipient to such a lofty and noble level so that the individual can positively affect others and the society at large. The question, what then is education, will become at this juncture merely rhetorical. For all along, we have been hinting at our thesis through its many antitheses. To sum up, the criticism of education as a system with its component input and end, the following illuminating question and answer epigram from CDP will suffice. And it says, why do civilization decline and ultimately die out? The answer that the seed of their decay lies in the thoughts and habits or the people among whom they flourish. Mainly, it is moral decay that leads ultimately to ruin. In this concise and precise thesis is a nugget of wisdom. We would like to conceive thoughts in this submission and the cognitive component, habits, the psychological dimension, and moral decay as the affective or spiritual consequence of its solid reputation. These three dimensions refer to the three symbolic H's in the trichotomy of the hands, skills, the head, intellect, and the heart, which is the target of literature. That is the affective, which is the ultimate spiritual goal of balance and truly transformative education. Language and literature can be regarded as social tools and microsystems within a larger social system of education. In other words, language and literature are components of something as well as instruments or mediums of education. The relationship between language and literature is conceived as reciprocal, and there is ample theoretical and empirical evidence in support of this. However, the relationship between the two disciplines, which are also educational, is tricky and paradoxical. In one sense, language is raw material of literature. A stone or bronze is of sculpture, paint for picture, and sand for music. This will imply that language is but a component or part of the content of literature. Apart from the fact that dramatic literature relies as well on paralinguistic and extra-linguistic goals, in addition to linguistic communication, literature reworks ordinary language through symbolism into a higher order semiotic system, which can be regarded as a grammar peculiar to literature. In another sense, literature can be situated within the limitless and ever-expanding province of language. In this respect, literature is viewed as an instance of language in use, a name for working well with words, by voice, or by pen. This perspective becomes clearer when we realize that there are countless domains of language use other than the literary. The persistent value, therefore, is that, like searing swings, language is part of literature, and literature is part of language, with each being smaller and at the same time larger than the other. Thus, the educational context, the teaching of one can be used for reinforcing the other directly or indirectly. We use literature to teach language, we use language to teach literature, inclusively or expressively. Now, what is the role of language in education? Language is perhaps the closest phenomenon to humankind, and without language, full human development and improvement is impossible. At the early formative stage and after the other subsequent stages of human development, linguistic development parallels and closely connected with cognitive development. This means that while language deformities and impairment may hamper intellectual development. At sociocultural level, no language is ideologically neutral, as every language carries with it the cultural and cosmological imprints of its habitual users. How much of serious literature transcends this sociological divide is a potential subject of in-depth research. How much of popular literature, on the other hand, propagates and perpetuates the cherished prejudices and patriarchalisms of this folk audience is also another theme in serving a very good investigation. Both writers, therefore, remain confined to the privileged elite due primarily to their medium and message. But ultimately, as a result of their ideological mindset, which has excluded them from the commercial literature of the mass culture, these were meanwhile writers such as Okonkwo has opted for the failure bilingual option, writing both in the regional and the regional languages. A few other writers could not go beyond the tokenism of nominal reverb. Located in Kosovo, George Awolowo Williams transformed into Kofi Williams and celebrated Nigerian humanist poet and dramaturg Dr. Clark, who only partial nominal metamorphosis into John Clark. before its final transformation. The following is the bilingual pair of poets in my modest unfolding experiment in bilingual poetry, while foraging foolhardily, I would say, in the dense forest of fiction, where index they are portrayed. Mothers, for Alake, I know how many who are parents out of the world of them. You know that they are not mothers. Just because through them they come. They are mothers and mothers, mothers and mentors. Because through them, children go very far, further than their parents. Abiyama fún Àlàkẹ́. Abiyama ní ìyá méjì, òun ní ó ti òǹgbélé lọ. Ìyá tó jẹ ìyá nítorí ọmọ. Ìyá tó fi owó tó fi ewé ìyá rẹ̀ fọ́ kí ọmọ rẹ̀ ní sọ́kọ̀tọ̀kọ̀tọ̀ jẹ́. Abiyama fún ìyá tí ọmọ rẹ̀ tí ara rẹ̀ jáde. Ìyá nínú ìyá tí ọmọ tí ara rẹ̀ lọ. Tí ọmọ wa lọ tí ọmọ wa ga tí ọmọ wa ga tí ó ti jáde wá lọ. Potential of mutual studies for balance and transformative evolution. As a subject of study, literature serves aesthetic, cognitive, didactic, therapeutic, and of course linguistic function in the school curriculum. See, literature possesses inherent moral and emotional beauty and appeal. It has an enduring capacity to please, delight, seduce, and enchant us. To some literary theories, this is not a function, because it actually inheres in literature, which as an art lacks all utility, and the artist is but a priest who renounces the pattern and time-seeking concerns of ordinary existence of beauty. This is not a place to evaluate this position, but perhaps it is sufficient to say that the aesthetic function is fundamental to all creative arts, including literature, and therefore it is the right and it is highly quantum, and an element of literature that satisfies other aesthetic functions without the primary intrinsic one to have a qualified literature. The didactic function of literature lies in the potential not only to indicate our work in all its imperfection, but also to indicate our work by articulate exposing the drawbacks and attempting to perfect the imperfection. It has the dance of the forest, your poet 1984, and it was the eye of the heart, and reach the soul of humanity. When we consider a writer of moral and social vision, we are trying to evaluate the quality and quality of people are concerned for a better world, part of which is the need to ensure that in our current craze for scientific and technological advancement, we do not take a safe step forward and several delayed steps backward. And bearing effort of science and technology in solving old problems only to create many new ones. Due to its soul searching and soul mending potential, literature serves the therapeutic function of intention reliever, as well as an elixir through which we are firmly reassured that despite widespread senselessness and suffering today, there is still hope for humanity. The possibility of human experience as someone infinite and spatial temperance and time. Literature helps in shrinking our world by providing vicarious experiences, which are not only presented vividly and memorably, but are also difficult to gain through other means. Because literature is transspatial, transtemporal, and transatmospheric. Literature enriches us positively by broadening our horizon through the substitution of the real for the imaginary. It digested literary plans, intensively metaphor, hyperbole, and that's all. Literary plans and techniques. This pedagogical orientation has reduced literary studies to appeal to us intellectually and magnetically, so that we think profoundly and intelligently about some concept or aspect of life. And two, to affect us emotionally, so that we feel either deep night or intense pain. In achieving intellectual appeal, the other poet is capable, as a modern counterpart, of conjuring powerful images with words. For example, in describing a bloody war, a Mandinka poet paints the following macabre picture. You will blood with human blood up to your knees. Blood was soaking the walls and were collapsing. The other poet can also describe with seriousness and depth some of the fundamental problems of human existence. The following Susu poem from Guinea analyzing the content of the human head in a deceptively simple fashion, more from the psychological than the biological part. This is traditional word, the word. There is a word that has 5 kinds of water, like sugar water and salty water. There is tasteless water and bitter water. The fifth water is red like blood. You wear in the head. These waters are symbols for the different temperaments in human nature. In the same way, Yoruba incantative poetry underscores the critical place of character in the workings of faith, first at the personal level, and ultimately by extrapolation, even at the national and global level. Character is at the root of the problem of humanity. I have attempted to render the following excerpt freely or figuratively in polyphonic prose, although I must confess I've done that incongruously and not actually the original elegance when juxtaposed with the different pages of Yoruba version. In the very beginning, the was character Yoruba, was a woman and wife of a ruler who divorced her because of her comparable dirtiness. He was left for good marriage home and as she was not married, grandchild, being a child to school, not married person. And the popular Yoruba authority, we know that patience is the father of character. You want that school? After the divorce, Olumila's life became miserable and empty. Everyone deserted him and was helpless and happy, living from hand to mouth. This is the inevitable consequence of parting ways with character, the beloved wife. He had no other choice than to start to embark on a search mission for his estranged wife. And at the voice of obedience, the dog, whoever last character, loses all good. These guys in the esoteric but the one in the area of the masquerade, Ormila started a search for his wife, character, to know her name. He entered the house of the great gossip and the Tulio to know her name. He proceeded to the homes of his envious and numerous kinsmen, but was treated with disgrace and granted no audience. In his unrelenting search for character, his wife, he chanced upon the footloose, itinerant pearls, who reminded him that character is the queen of fortune. And without her, Ormila tragedy and surprise will know him. Sobbing and sweating out profusely, Ormila directed his search to the residences of the 16 deities. One after the other, they chided him and admonished him to heed the advice the itinerant pearl. Thoroughly exhausted, he texted and the published remembered faithfully his father's epigram. God is a dependable and unflinching pillar of support even when the whole world abandons one. He then resorted to proceed to heaven and plead with the Lord Mary to give him back character, his wife. So personally, he found his wife to the Lord Mary and pleaded with her to follow him back home, but she refused. When the plea became persistent, and she was moved by the pitiable sight of her once handsome husband, she gave one condition, or returned to him, that he must use his own hand to deftly mend and massage his character, to soothe her own pains. The voice of obedience then approaches all. If we are worthy of that character, our work belongs to others. If we are blessed with offspring of that character, our children belong to others. What matters most is character, only character. One header who has character has all love and wealth. Without prejudice to the politistic overdose, the humanistic cosmology indicated in this folkloric extract affirm the potential and potency of sound character in achieving a more peaceful, balanced, and just world. This progressive persuasion has also been given artistic affirmation and filled by quintessential Achebe in his last classic novel, Antis of the Savannah. In the beginning, however, page 2 our naked. So the Almighty, looking at his creation through the land of dying eye of the sun, saw and pondered, and finally decided to send his daughter, Idemili, to bear witness to the moral nature of authority by wrapping around power's good ways a loin cloth of peace and modesty. The story goes that in the distant past, and literature specific as implicit in the foreign questions I'm throwing all across. The questions are across, the posters are across. How do we reconceptualize the nature, goals, and content of education, so that the process can be meaningful, relevant, balanced, and calculative in relation to national development? How can we reinvent the education system so that over 60 million Nigerians of 15 years of age and below can be accommodated within the system in terms of accessibility and quality of education opportunity? How do we create an entrepreneurial class that will take the burden of coordination of the shoulder of government? How can we put our linguistic and literary resources in the service of sustainable national development through the medium of a balanced, productive, and transformative education, so that these assets will not come like other natural resources into our nemesis and Nigeria? How can we ensure the integration of status and purpose planning in the Nigerian language policy in such a way that we can gradually transit from an ethnocentric policy to a mixed style in which more and more local languages can be used complementarily and harmoniously with English to achieve nationalism first and then nationalism. These are the two goals for development. Nationalism refers to authenticity as a method, while nationalism refers to operational efficiency in all spheres of life. Most importantly, in the post-colonial context, how can we ensure that our languages, including our English as a second language, and their literatures, serve in terms of both curricular content and methodology as the nucleus of a broad humanistic reorientation in our continuous pursuit of a better world through scientific and equal development within an education system that is functional, relevant, balanced, humanistic, and transformative. The man said, which means the justice system in the world is judged. A just sample.
Wọ́n sì ń ṣe wọ́n ka kiri lọ́wọ́.
Ẹ ṣayére o, ẹ dákun ẹ ṣayére. Ẹ ṣayére o, ẹ dákun ẹ ṣayére. Ìwà rẹ̀ yé o, ìwà rẹ̀ yé o, ìwà yóò kó ìkà o, ẹ dákun ẹ ṣayére. Ẹ ṣayére o, ẹ dákun ẹ ṣayére. Ẹ ṣayére o, ẹ dákun ẹ ṣayére. Ìwà rẹ̀ yé o, ìwà rẹ̀ yé o, ìwà yóò kó ìkà
the paper was, for your first time, you get it and you don't get it kind of. Thank you very much. Education, they have been very important. I'm not saying because they are here. That's indeed. We are indeed very grateful for the kind consideration that are being here to attend to this program. It's indeed an honor to Para Anna and to Anna National and to Anna International. We are indeed grateful. Thank you very much. We also wish to thank our keynote speaker, Professor Bayo. When it was mentioned, anybody embarrassing to know that the erudite professor has indeed been a blessing to us to practice. Nominating him as the keynote speaker, you cannot appreciate what he has given us until you are able to lay your hand on the copy of the lecture or is it speech like the remark that he has given. When you go back and have the message, you will know that it was a privilege to have him at 5 minutes. As international. They are done, they want to It's very brilliant presentation you have made here today. And we hope anytime you come on here. Anyway, I should say that
I'm here for only the
because even when it was TBC,
I say I'm here for
when you
only
wanted to come and do a review,
after this
or
one.
just ordinary members to be there to do it. When I was doing my first work, he also reviewed it for me publicly. So there to read it that he has repeated and support. I think it will be of God Almighty and due to them. They are good greatness. We also wish to thank Professor Ode. We are very glad. Some of us would have read his literature here and there, but you don't know when we many of them. This person, anywhere he enters in the literary field in Nigeria, whether in the world, you know that it's a privilege that all the time. And patients will be there, they are indeed grateful. In fact, indeed, when they are about to see all that, Anna is a long-standing organization. But when the crisis was there, it's gladdening that someone like him stood to ensure that we have this convention. Thank you very much. We also have to thank our father, also, and every time I say distinguished professor, and I believe that by the time the rest of the law begin to think that we should be having a emeritus professor. I think he's getting retired, he's already going retired, he's retired, but he's never tired. We have our professor, who know about him, former he's the former chairman, National Commission for Museum and Monuments. He was in history, National Institute of Policy and Strategic Study, and indeed, it's a pleasure also to have him here as a former as a current holder of National Merit Award. I think he deserves the right answer. He was former national chairman, he was chairman Kwara here, and indeed, even when Kwara had problems because of the investment of the crisis, he stood through the thick and thin to ensure that Anna Kwara down to me, when the Babaji and all of us, and I know he has been giving consistent support to ensure that Kwara never died, not to talk of at the national level. Indeed, we are glad to have you here today. We also have, I'm not too sure, because of his class, he's an inspiration. He's the medical doctor, a former member of the House of Rep. He gave inspiration, just like people like Grant Wesley, who is a pharmacist, people like Chima Amadi, who is a pharmacist, people like Professor Tiemano, who is an engineer. He now joined the ranks as a medical doctor, to be one of the most prolific writers in Nigeria today, if not in West Africa. And on that account, is the executive secretary of Pan-African Writers Association Power, which is based in Accra, Ghana. Indeed, it's a pleasure that we to make the event, and we are indeed very happy. They have stood to ensure that Anna continues that legacy that was established by the life of Professor Wole, Professor Chima Achebe, David Clark, Blessed Memories, and other people who have ensured. So indeed, we thank you for being here, Dr. Wale of Eddie. You're welcome. Having mentioned, there's one person who also, I'm not sure he came all the way, rather from Abuja or Nigeria, but he feels he must be here, and I know the reason why. Someone was saying that Solomon Femi is from he's not from Kogi, he's from Kwara. He has given everything, every bit of his life to Kwara, just like the same thing. No, Kogi can say that he's from here, so we know it's not of us here. Then we also have now someone who he also groomed, who is now a master in the system. Who you know it's the joy of every father to see his child grow. One of his child is now a professor of theater at also University of Nigeria, and is currently the chairman of National Theatre. So here is Professor NSP Odudo. You're welcome, sir. So thank you for making it today again.
The chairman of copyright, the director of copyright, I think he's still here. We thank him for coming here. National, then we also thank Madam Kenya for his doggedness. We should also thank ourselves. He also came, he's the director of the National Arts Council, Abuja, and he's also here because he has been dogged. He goes through the ranks. When someone goes through the ranks in Anna, to get Anna. And I'm sure in this convention, those areas that we still need to bring on board what the socially said, everybody was brought back on board. I'm sure that task is accomplished and present. We thank you for this honor being done to Barra, that is the constellation zone. Thank you very much. The chairman, persons, and members from all ANA chapters that are here, from Bayelsa, from Anambra, from Nasarawa, from Kogi, from Benue, all of you, Oyo, everywhere that, all of you that are here, you're all welcome for making this a very important date. We kept it in spite of all the things that have happened along the line this year. We are still able to make this a success. We thank you for being here. Then I invited guests from all over National Library, all of them that are here, so thank you. Finally, we want to thank Mustafa and the Foundation. Ensure that this hall was made better than it was to accommodate this particular convention. Even the welcoming session I've had at Knowledge Platform and Mustafa Community Library Resource Center yesterday night, we all agreed was something that was okay. It was courtesy of the Mustafa Foundation. We thank you for keeping the legacy of Honorable Justice Muhammad Mustafa Abdullah alive. We thank you for coming here in spite of the short notice and what. Thank you very much. And distinguished gentlemen of the press, thank you for being here. We thank the DJ. We thank everyone who has taken time to be here. May the Almighty Allah thank you immensely on our behalf. Thank you very much.
Last year, the association has been rocked with this internal crisis, whereby we have some members of the association that were not happy with the way things are, and there was a crisis. And so we just emerging from that crisis. Precisely in July this year, we had an emergency convention in Benue, that's Makurdi, and that gave birth to this set of new executives. And so the association is, now in search of a new world where we can use literature to bring about peace and development. And so as a result of that, we felt it is important that this year convention, even though there is this global pandemic, which is another crisis on its own to the entire world. The entire world is faced with that crisis of a health challenge, a health crisis of the COVID-19. And so we felt at this particular point in time, the entire world, not only the association, even though we are just emerging from that crisis, the entire world is also faced with this crisis, and we are in search of a new world. And so that is one of the reasons why we had this theme for this year's convention, which we are just having, a few months away from the normal time that we usually have it. That is our convention, usually the last Thursday of October of every year. And so that is essentially what gave birth to the theme of this year's convention.
All right, sir. What would be advice for the general public as regards reading culture?
Yeah, well, again, it is no more news that our society is, receding into a kind of degradation vis-a-vis the moral values, ethical, societal ethics, and co. And this is as a result of the fact that our reading culture is dwindling. Over the years, you see that the society is no longer reading, and we need to bring back that era whereby we have reading, forming an essential part of the making of an individual who in turns, contribute to the development of the society. And so that's one of the things ANA is, one of the things it is established for, so as to be able to build a complete, a wholesome man. And of course, we know that a reading society is an informed society, and an informed society is an enlightened society. So it is important that we do this.
As chairman of Kwara ANA, what have been the challenges for you organizing the national convention?
Oh, wow, this is a tough one, because even the event itself, it's been a tough one, in the sense that usually the tradition in the association is that an interested state will bid to host the convention. But this year, despite the global pandemic that we have, we never bidded for it because of one major reason. We know that we do not have the capacity, the financial muscle to be able to host this convention. And so we never bidded. And as God will have it, this year, the thrust was placed on us, and we had to, take the bull by the horn and say, okay, we need to do this. It's a sacrifice we are going to make to assist our association. It has not been easy. It's been very tough, even up till this moment. But we thank God for His grace. He has been wonderful. Vis-a-vis, we were able to secure a kind of partnership with the University of ILORIN this year. We have always had, our pillar of support, whom we pray that God Almighty will continue to grant him, respite in his grave. That's our father, in person of Honorable Justice Muhammad Mustafa Adebayo Akabi, the former, the pioneer ICPC, chairman of ICPC, former president, Court of Appeal. He's been wonderful. During his life, he was wonderful. Without him, he was our pillar of support. After his demise, the family still stood by us. That's why all the events we've been having this year, especially for this convention, has been in one of his facility or the other. We have the knowledge platform, we have the Mustafa Akabi Library, we have the African People's Hall, the Mustafa Akabi Foundation. All of this, he has put it at our service, at our use, at almost no cost at all. And so we are grateful for this, and this has been a very tremendous support that we have been receiving. Similarly, this Kwara State government, especially this new administration, has been wonderful. And just as we have the chairperson of this formal opening, the Honorable Commissioner for Communications, and she just pledged Mrs. Harriet Afolabi Oshatimeyi. She just pledged that anytime, any day, we should just call on, and this government will be willing to grant us any support that we seek. And so that's encouraging, and we hope that other corporate bodies and institutions will also support this and see what the association stands for, that is, especially in the aspect of reading culture, in order for us to have a better society, and also grant us as much support as they can. And so it has not been easy, but we thank God for His grace.
Thank you very much, sir.
With the situation of things in the country, we all know that literature is very, very important. the leadership of this country is taking a different toll. So we need to turn the leadership of this country around, and it is only people who are well read, who have the understanding of how to lead the nation. That is what we need. So through leadership, people can be learned, well educated on how to lead the country in the right path.
Well, to be a writer in Nigeria is not an easy task. One thing is to write, and one thing is to get the reading public to show interest in what you have written. But with consistency, and when people believe that you have the knack to get things out into the public in readable form, they begin to accept you. It takes time, but with time, you will get some of these things some of your works into the public domain. Secondly, when you want to write, there's hardly nobody is going to give you encouragement. You have to encourage yourself, you have to motivate yourself. But if you successfully break the ice or the glass ceiling, as they say now, you will discover that other people would come around to support you in your endeavor. So for those who have that, they shouldn't allow probably the impediments to truncate their dream. They should apply themselves, because like my dad, who has this venue, who established this venue, African Home African Foundation, he will always say, reading makes a complete man, arithmetic makes something deep. But if you don't read, how can you write? If you don't write, what contributions are you going to leave to the world? At least you must do something that is worth either writing about, or you write about something worth talking about. I think those are the things.